man was injured but picked up the spider on the ground. Even though he hesitated for a moment, the man swallowed the tiny bug. The spider entered the man's bloodstream along his throat. The cells in the man's body were instantly activated by the blood and then exploded with super strength. After receiving this power, the man kicked his opponent until his bones fell apart and he spit out blood. It turned out that this energy was the killing technique given to this man named Rain by the vampire Dracula. When a priest trapped vampire Dracula in a magical formation, Dracula's servant Rain had a chance to escape his grip, but Dracula had a firm grip on Rain's weaknesses, telling Rain,
"The moment I'm gone, they will lock you away for what you've done for me, and your only salvation. I am your only friend."
Rain was moved by Dracula's sincere tears. He then kicked out a slipper and unsealed the priest's sealing circle. The next second, Dracula immediately revealed an evil smile. Dracula disguised as a puff of black smoke into the priest's mouth. The priest was immediately blown apart. Seeing this, the exorcist hunter immediately cast a spell to open the curtains. The scorching sunlight instantly burned Dracula, who lunged at the exorcist, even though he was in pain. Rain hurriedly used the black cloth to put out the fire on Dracula's body, but it was too late. Dracula had been burned into an ugly skeleton, losing its flesh and blood. In order to replenish the hemoglobin for his master, Rain had to catch some fresh humans to give back to his master Dracula. Rain had been trained by Dracula for hundreds of years, and dealing with these humans was just like a game. At that moment, there came a tall killer dressed in strange clothes, throwing flying knives at Rain, but Rain was so good that he easily dodged the killer's attack and gave him a punch. Then Rain easily lifted the killer above his head, but unexpectedly, the killer took out a small dagger and stabbed Rain in the abdomen. The killer got the upper hand and tried to cut Rain's tongue out. Rain hurriedly pulled out the dagger and stabbed the killer's aorta. Then Rain took out a high-protein bug gift box and ate it immediately. Rain instantly exploded with great strength and kicked the killer out. Then Rain endured the pain in his abdomen and swung the killer with a punch. Kicking the killer in the head, Rain let the three men drag back to his master Dracula to enjoy. To Rain's surprise, Dracula cursed,
"Drug is trash! You feed it trash!"
Dracula wanted some pure nuns, or a busload of cheerleaders. Only fresh blood can rejuvenate Dracula quickly. Only then could he turn back into the murderous vampire King Dracula. Rain had to change the bar and continue to help Dracula looking for prey. Rain had just found a few nuns, and then another convoy of cheerleaders passed by. This was the opportunity Rain had been waiting for. Just as Rain was about to drug her targets and bring them to Dracula, Officer Quincy arrived at the bar to apprehend the bad guys.
Oh, this is not a good look. Not a good look at all. Abort.
As Rain was preparing to retreat, a group of robbers who wanted money for their lives also arrived. It was destined to be an unusual night. As the leader of the robbers was about to shoot Quincy, Rain, who was hiding in the shadows, came out. As a vampire servant, Rain could take on many enemies even with a fork in his hand. Rain hid behind a bulletproof table and he was also unharmed. Rain was able to defeat an enemy even if he kicked the table away. Quincy's performance is also very good. Do not look at Quincy full-bodied. She fought no less than ordinary men. Finally, Quincy also used the upside-down hook, shot the enemy in the back, saving Rain's life. Because of this encounter, the two people also have more of a friendship. Rain was reveling in the joy of being a hero. He didn't know that the robbers he killed were not ordinary people, but members of the biggest local gangster family. The gangster family's boss, our tracked down Rain to find the hiding place of Rain's master Dracula. But this group of people just gave free heads to Dracula, the king of vampires. Eddie, the son of the mobster's eldest sister, was also choked by Dracula.
"Who are you?"
Eddie tells Dracula the reason for what happened. They came here to find this man in the video because Rain killed a member of their gang. Dracula realizes that his servant Rain betrayed him, immediately turned into a black crow to find Rain. At this point, Rain completely changed his appearance, and Rain wanted to start a new life. But as soon as Rain entered his home, he saw that Dracula had found the place.
"You're the one who used me! You used my power because you're a husk! I'm I'm the one you swore to protect! And you abandoned me!
Dracula couldn't stand Rain's betrayal. Questioning loudly, Dracula asks Rain which organization is brainwashing you to get you to make the decision to abandon your master. Rain had to pull out a book, How to Protect Yourself from Narcissists. Rain no longer wanted to be controlled by Dracula. He wanted to be a cute sweater-wearing spiritual person, instead of a servant who went around sucking Dracula's blood for him. Dracula grabs the chicken soup book, and he sees a church symbol on it. It turns out that Rain has been brainwashed by the church. Dracula was so angry that his fans were bursting out of his mouth. Then Dracula quickly arrived at the church. Rain rushed to ask Dracula to spare those innocent people. Dracula ignored it. He raised his hands and slowly rose into the air.
I am Dracula.
Rain was also scared and he could only kneel down and apologize for his betrayal. But Dracula was furious. He couldn't understand why his servant chose to stay with these weak humans. Dracula threw Rain out and by the time Rain hit the ground, the human who was breathing a moment ago had fallen to the ground. Dracula put his arm on Rain's shoulder. At that moment, Rain was weak and helpless. Rain wanted to fight for freedom, but he knew it would never be easy. But then Officer Quincy and her colleagues arrived and saw the body on the ground. Based on the evidence at the scene, they arrested Rain, the only murderer present, and were going to take him back for examination. But just as Quincy and his colleagues leave, the gangster family's caravan arrives. It turns out that Quincy's colleague has betrayed Quincy. The colleague is on the side of the big sister of the mob family. It seems that tonight it is inevitable to fight a battle. The clever Quincy knocked down the wire, causing a commotion and distracting the mob. Quincy and Rain immediately drove away. The next day, Quincy had just handcuffed Rain to report the crime. When the police and the gangsters surrounded them as the enemy is about to storm the house, Rain is looking for earthworms in a flower pot and swallows the children's captive earthworms without hesitation.
You're a bad man, Mr. Renfield!
Yeah, well,
It turns out that he is Rain, the servant of the vampire Dracula. The worm is also flesh, and can give Rain unlimited energy. Rain even has the ability to jump, also can twist off the enemy's arm as a weapon. Quincy, a short and tough female police officer, also has strong fighting ability. Seeing that Quincy was being controlled by the enemy, Rain immediately rushed over and pinned down the enemy. Rain and Quincy worked together and left in style through the wall of people they had fought. Ira also panicked when he saw his men being wiped out, but at that moment, Teddy brought a coffin, saying it was a great gift. When it was open, there stood up the vampire King Dracula.
It's the real fucking Dracula!
Ira immediately laughs and agrees with Dracula. As long as the mob cooperates with Dracula, they will have no problem ruling the entire planet. Dracula immediately summons his betrayed servant Rain back to his side, and Quincy received a call from her sister. It turns out that Quincy's sister has been kidnapped by the mob. Rain and Quincy are forced to do nothing but embark on a desperate battle with the mob. Quincy prepared a large number of heavy weapons, while all Rain needed was a large number of bugs. These things are small. Although the bugs are small, they can't give Rain unlimited power. Quincy and Rain both had no choice but to step into the territory of the gangster family. But the gangsters' men had already been trained by Dracula as junior vampire killers, and their combat power had improved greatly. But after all, Rain has been by Dracula's side for hundreds of years, and he deals with these minor characters very easily. On the other hand, Teddy was shooting at Quincy. At the critical moment, Rain hit Teddy in the air.
Oh, this must drive you crazy. Him choosing me over you?
Teddy has been charmed by Dracula. He wants to kill Rain and become Dracula's servant. Wouldn't it be nice to follow your master and rule the world? But villains like Teddy often die from the fate of talking too much. In his Teddy passionate talk, when Rain took the opportunity to open the bud box to swallow the bud, the instantly replenished with unlimited energy, a flying kick will Teddy kicked off. On the other hand, Quincy found Dracula to negotiate. In order to save his sister who was already dying, Quincy is willing to make a deal with Dracula and become his maid. Dracula has a devilish grin on his face, but the scheming Quincy secretly presses the mechanism when he approaches Dracula and opens the iron curtain to land in the sunlight. Dracula couldn't stand the sunlight, so he turned into a black bat and flew to the secret room. Want to revenge Quincy? Dracula dragged Quincy in midair and tried to bite Quincy's throat. Who would have thought that the fangs of the King of Vampires would be so easily pulled out by Rain? Unfortunately, just 3 seconds later, Dracula's fangs immediately grew back. It was impossible to completely remove Dracula's fangs. Seeing this, Rain started beating Dracula. Dracula forgot to fight back for a moment. This time, Rain tried to get rid of Dracula's control completely. Dracula came at Rain with a punch, and the next second, Rain flew like smoke. But Dracula doesn't know that he will be caught in the circle of Quincy's curse. Now Dracula is completely finished, and Rain and Quincy take turns to inflict cruel punishment on Dracula. Dracula also refuses to admit defeat, saying he just wants to go to hell for a vacation and has nothing to fear. After all, the interesting souls are there. Not wanting to talk any more nonsense, Rana and Quincy swing the sledgehammer and chainsaw and mix it with cement. They made Dracula into a cement block and threw it into the sewer. Rain, they believe that this time Dracula will never come back to life. The movie is called Renfield. Such a brutal and personalized Dracula. Who does not like it?